Good morning. Let's get started. My name is Mary Martin. I'm the ECM Event Manager with Applied Imaging, and welcome to our webinar, Building a Remote Worker Strategy. So here's our agenda for the day. We've already covered the welcome portion of things. We're going to talk about the challenges facing today's remote workers and then the solutions. Tools to connect them, security, how to optimize the business process and deal with risk, as well as empowering your employees and enabling collaboration. I'll end up with a live software demonstration to kind of give you a taste of how it works, and then questions and answers following that. So here are the 7 challenges facing today's remote workers. I'm not going to go through these. We're going to spend a lot of time on number 6 and 7, but I want to give you some ideas of how to deal with each one of those as we work through them. Let's start with number 1, poor time management. When you're working at home, you have to be self-motivated. There's not somebody there making sure you're doing things. It's too easy to kind of walk away from your office and think, well, I'll start at 10 o'clock and I'll work a couple extra hours. What you need to do is basically a couple of things. 1, work from a list. That's important. Number 2, whatever that one thing is that you hate to do or don't want to do, I love Mark Twain. He calls it eating the frog. Basically, do it first. Eat that frog first thing in the morning, get it over with, get the worst done, and then the rest of the day you start working through your list. Our second challenge is working too much. When you're working from home or remotely, it's too easy to walk in the evening, you think of something when you can't sleep at night, you're back in the office, you end up working harder than you would be if you were in an office somewhere. So you need to trick yourself into taking breaks. What I mean by that is, if you get this project done, I'm going to take a break. Make sure you have clear start and end times. Otherwise, you're going to risk burnout. And distractions. We've got a lot of those. Homeschooling is going on at home right now with a lot of people. At the same time, they're trying to work from home. There's no way to avoid all those interruptions. And then let's add Facebook and all those other things that take you down the rabbit hole and away from work. Those are a challenge as well. I had a friend many years ago who, when she was working from home, set up a rule with her household. She would hang something on the door to let them know she was on a conference call or a webinar. And if they saw that, they knew the only reason they could interrupt was if they were bleeding. Anything else would have to wait. So it's important to establish clear and concise what's an interruption while I'm busy and what's not, and work that out with your family. And finally, those bad health habits. That kitchen is just a hop, skip, and a jump away, and it's too easy to head there and grab something to eat a little too often sometimes. And because we're not involved in drive time in the morning and afternoon, we're going to bed later, we're getting up later, we're not getting the sleep that we need. So it's important to develop a routine and keep that, and take breaks during the day. Get up, walk away, go to your deck. If the sun is out, take your lunch out there, whatever you need to give you that break during the day. And communication. Now that's the interesting one. It's challenging enough to communicate with people face to face, but when you start doing it via email, tweets, and text, you can say something that you really didn't mean for it to sound the way it did, but on the other end, they're going, what was that? So it's important to be clear about what you're communicating, but more importantly, be proactive. If you're on the receiving end of something strange, speak up. Did you mean to say that the way I just read that? And go from there to stop the communication challenges. And here's a big one. When the shelter in came down, we discovered that there was a lot of interesting things that we hadn't thought about. Paper is scattered across the office, and it's not accessible from home. I talked to somebody who made 4 trips into the office just to get the paper that he needed. And now we've got electronic information that everybody was storing on their individual workstations or on their personal drives on their workstations, and people don't have access to that anymore. And then tracking approvals and signatures. We were working with a client who got 125 invoices a week. They said their process was originally to just walk the paper over to the mailboxes in the office, slide them in, and the workers would pick them up and approve, or it'd go on to somebody higher if there was a dollar amount involved. When we went into the shutdown, they hit the wall. They had to find something else to do very quickly with that process. And then paper forms. We're using a lot of forms out there nowadays. If they're in paper, how do you get that thing filled out, signed, and back? We were just talking to a school district that had the same scenario. They're handing out Chrome notebooks. They want the signed paperwork back saying they got them. How do they get it back? And finally, all of us have had teammates that are furloughed, out sick, and other reasons. Who's picking up their job responsibilities? And finally, technology. You know, a lot of remote workers love technology and love to make use of it, but it's so much more than hardware and the laptops and tablets and smartphones. You need to think about apps and software and so much else. So let's explore this a little bit further by talking about how we empower the remote worker. We're going to run through the tools to connect your workforce, how to secure your data, optimize the business process without the risk, and empowering your employees through collaboration. First, connecting your workforce. Now, you'll notice in the beginning, I mentioned there was ECM after my title. That means electronic content management. Now, in our world, it's also known as document management, records management, knowledge management. It's kind of like a car where we call it a car, a vehicle, and an auto. Folks, this is all the same thing. What that means is your records, whether they're electronic or hard copy, how are you controlling them? How are you sharing them? What are you doing with them? How are you managing them? The easiest way to do that is with cloud storage. Those files are now securely stored in the cloud, and I know there's some questions about that. Today's cloud is so much more advanced. They're encrypted on the way to the cloud. They're encrypted while in the cloud. They're in your own data silo, so it's not mixed with anybody else's information. And in the case of the software that we deal with, there are server farms on different parts of the country, East Coast and mid-country somewhere. So if East Coast goes down, the information you need is still there in the mid-country. So you have a lot of security, but more importantly, you can control the access rights on who gets in, who looks at that information, even what they can do. This person has delete rights, they're in management, these people do not. So your team members can now make decisions unified because everything's accessible and available to them. It also automates their common business practices. You know, we're really good at performing manual data entry in the world we just have left at the office and routing and moving documents around, but that's a problem. With software, that can all be automated. Automatic indexing, automatically moving things around. And where we see the biggest benefit is in invoice approval and employee onboarding, and also records retention. And web clients. You know, the challenge that also hit during this recent pandemic is VPN. Companies didn't have a virtual private network strong enough to support all the people working from home. I know of several companies that sent their people home and said at 9 o'clock on this night, everybody get on the network. We need to see if it's going to handle it. If you're using a web client, you can access from anywhere and you just need a browser. Chrome, whatever you want to use, it will work with that web client, and you can access even in from your car. If the family drives you nuts and you can get your wireless connection at the house in the car, you can also log in from there. And of course, our mobile devices. You know, they are so smart nowadays. You can do a workflow, start it right from your mobile device. There's something called PaperScan. It's a free scan app out there. You basically hold your phone over the document, snap a picture, and it gives you the option to send it into the workflow. You can route documents. Anything you can do in that web client nowadays, you pretty much can do with your mobile device, including completing tasks. And let's talk about optimizing business. Capturing information can come from anywhere when you're working in the cloud or with a software solution, even on premise. You can have it come in off of the copier when you're back in the office with watch folders. You could scan it, and we're also providing a lot of scanners for people at home to do their scanning. Or you can drag and drop. There's a variety of ways to bring it in. There's not a limit on that. It gives you a lot of flexibility. And what's going to happen is it's going to speed up your business process. You're going to streamline things. So everybody's a little more flexible when you're using that software solution to meet your needs. Email is another fun one. A lot of people kept things in their inbox. I had a coworker that used to have about 12,000 emails. About 10,000 of them weren't unopened, and she couldn't find anything most of the time. Well, with a software solution, you can pick and choose your email and have it stored right in the software with the rest of the documents related to that email. So if anybody does a search, they now have access to the email. It's not sitting privately in somebody's workstation. And in today's world, electronic signatures have been taken off. It is very strong and powerful now. And now we're in this new remote world. You have the ability to have things electronically signed legally for contracts and invoices. So what's going to happen is, rather than moving paper around, your employees are now more productive. They've got a smart solution to help them empower them, what they do, and make them more self-sufficient, because you've given them the tools to be successful while working remotely. And then, of course, software also gives you the information you need for quick decision making, because everything is processed and moving quickly. And I love the workflow part of it. You heard me describe the organization that was moving paper through, putting it in mailboxes. In electronic software solutions, those can all be sent via either a task list in the web client saying, here's what I need to have done, it'll show up there, or they can be sent via email as a link in the email saying, hey, click on this and approve this invoice. And the most important thing is, at a glance, management can see what's out there, what's being done, and what's going on. You can even put a timeline on critical information saying, if somebody hasn't looked at it in 24 hours, notify me so I can do something about it. Forms are another big one. We talked about paper. If they're electronic, they can complete all the information electronic, hit submit, it immediately can send it into a workflow, notifying somebody the form is there, it needs action, and needs something done to it as it moves through. And they can attach whatever they need to attach to that electronic form. So there's a lot of collaboration options available as you're working with software. So let's recap. Here are the benefits for remote workers if you're looking at software. Now you've got secure electronic file cabinets that can be accessed anywhere in the world or from home, electronic forms that can be completed and submitted online, workflow that'll be able to move the information through your business in nanoseconds, getting the approvals that you need and the signatures. And now you can cover for that staff who's not with you at this point in time with the tools and information you need to share things that need to help you move that business forward. The bottom line is, you need to think about future-proofing your organization. I don't want to be doom and gloom here, but they're talking possibly in the fall we could be back in this again. So now's the time to think about, all right, what have I learned and what do I need to maybe do differently and change in my process? So a little word from our sponsor, Applied Imaging. What I love about our company is that we have a variety of software solutions available. You can see them listed here. It's not a solution fit. We talk to you, we do discovery questions, we figure out what software solution best meets your needs along the way. And you'll see Canon listed there as well. We offer Canon scanners. I know people, that copier couldn't go home with you that used to use for scanning in the office. We're doing a lot of sending scanners to people's homes and remotely connecting them right now to help them get up and get moving with that part of their business as well. We've also got your back in so many other areas you may not be aware of. We have a Shred Hub division that can send a secure bag to your house to put that critical documents in for shredding and other things. We'll either pick it up at your house or you can drop it off at our office. I know those files are piling up, hard copy that you were maybe scanning before this all happened. We've got backfile conversion available for you, as well as a team of NetSmart IT folks who can help you with your IT needs. They can be your support right down to our PrintSmart folks who deal with the printers in your office, that managed print services part of it. And of course, document management that we've just talked about. If you need any more information, here's the contact information, marketing@appliedimaging.com, or our phone number is 800-521-0983.